The Ekumeku War stands as a testament to the Igbo people's unwavering spirit of resistance against British colonialism. This conflict, which spanned several decades, was not just a series of battles but a profound struggle for the preservation of identity, culture, and autonomy. It was a clash of cultures, a battle between two different worlds. The British, with their advanced weaponry and military tactics, underestimated the resolve and ingenuity of the Igbo warriors. On one side were the Igbo communities of the Niger Delta, deeply rooted in their traditions and fiercely protective of their autonomy. These communities had thrived for centuries, developing a rich tapestry of social, economic, and political systems that were uniquely their own. On the other side was the expanding British Empire, driven by ambitions of economic gain and political dominance. The British saw the Niger Delta as a jewel in their colonial crown, a region rich in resources and strategic importance. This clash of interests, fueled by misunderstandings and a fundamental disregard for Igbo sovereignty, set the stage for a protracted and bloody conflict. The British, with their imperial mindset, failed to recognize the deep-seated values and the resilience of the Igbo people. The late 19th century was a time of profound change in Africa. The continent was being reshaped by external forces, with European powers scrambling to carve out territories and establish their dominance. European powers, emboldened by industrial might and imperial ambitions, were carving up the continent with little regard for existing boundaries or the aspirations of its people. Treaties were signed, often under duress or through deceit, and entire communities found themselves under foreign rule. The Niger Delta, a region of immense natural wealth and strategic importance, became a prime target for British expansion. Its rivers and waterways were vital for trade, and its resources promised great economic returns. The British, eager to control the lucrative trade routes and resources of the region, sought to impose their authority over the Igbo communities that called the Delta their home. They established trading posts and forts, gradually extending their influence deeper into Igbo territory. The Igbo people, however, were not a people to be easily subdued. Their history was marked by a fierce independence and a strong sense of community. They had successfully navigated internal and external challenges for generations. They had a long history of self-governance, with intricate social structures and a deep respect for their cultural heritage. Their political systems were decentralized, with power distributed among various councils and leaders, ensuring that no single entity held absolute control. Their communities thrived on trade, agriculture, and a strong sense of communal responsibility. The Igbo were skilled traders, engaging in commerce with neighboring regions and beyond, and their agricultural practices were advanced and sustainable. The arrival of the British, with their alien customs and insatiable appetite for control, represented a direct threat to this way of life. The British imposed new laws, disrupted traditional trade routes, and sought to undermine the existing social order. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the very core of Igbo identity and leave an indelible mark on their history. The Ekumeku War was not just a fight for land or resources, it was a battle for the soul of a people, a struggle to preserve a way of life that had endured for centuries. The Niger Delta, a sprawling network of rivers and creeks, was more than just a geographical location for the Igbo people. It was a vibrant ecosystem that sustained their way of life for generations. The delta's intricate waterways were not merely physical features but the veins through which the lifeblood of the Igbo culture flowed. It was the lifeblood of their existence, a source of sustenance, trade, and cultural identity. The rivers provided fish, a staple in their diet, while the fertile lands along the banks yielded bountiful harvests. The Igbo people had developed a symbiotic relationship with their environment, one that was both respectful and sustainable. The intricate web of waterways provided fertile ground for agriculture, while the rivers teemed with fish, providing a vital source of protein. The Igbo were skilled farmers and fishermen, their techniques honed over centuries to work in harmony with the natural rhythms of the delta. This delicate balance ensured that the land remained productive and the rivers abundant. Trade flourished along these watery highways, connecting Igbo communities with each other and the wider world. Canoes laden with goods navigated the rivers, facilitating a vibrant exchange of products, ideas, and culture. Markets along the riverbanks bustled with activity, serving as hubs of economic and social interaction. The arrival of the British in the late 19th century disrupted this delicate balance. The British, driven by their insatiable economic ambitions, saw the Niger Delta not as a thriving community, but as a resource to be exploited. Their arrival marked the beginning of a profound and often violent transformation of the region. Driven by economic ambitions, British traders sought to monopolize the region's lucrative palm oil trade, a key ingredient in European industrial production. Palm oil, which was abundant in the delta, became a highly sought-after commodity. The British were determined to control its production and trade, often using coercive tactics to achieve their goals. The British saw the Niger Delta as a source of raw materials and a captive market for their manufactured goods. They envisioned a one-sided economic relationship where the delta's resources would fuel British industry, while the local population would become consumers of British products. This vision was imposed with little regard for the existing social and economic structures. To achieve their goals, they employed a combination of economic pressure, political maneuvering, and outright force, undermining existing trade networks and imposing their own systems of control. Local leaders were coerced or co-opted, and traditional practices were disrupted. The British established a colonial administration that prioritized their interests over those of the indigenous population. The British, with their superior weaponry and ruthless tactics, posed a formidable threat to the Igbo communities. Their military presence was a constant reminder of the power imbalance, and their actions often led to violent confrontations. The Igbo, however, were not passive victims. They understood the stakes and were prepared to defend their land and way of life. Yet the Igbo people were not easily cowed. They had a long history of resilience and adaptability, and they drew upon this heritage in their response to the British threat. Community meetings were held, strategies were devised, and alliances were formed. The Igbo were determined to resist the encroachment on their autonomy. They recognized the danger posed by British encroachment and the potential loss of their cherished autonomy. The elders, respected for their wisdom and experience, played a crucial role in rallying the community. They emphasized the importance of unity and the need to protect their cultural heritage. A spirit of resistance began to stir, fueled by a deep-seated love for their land and a determination to preserve their way of life. This resistance was not just about physical survival. It was about maintaining the integrity of their culture and the sovereignty of their communities. The Igbo people were ready to fight for their future. This resistance would soon coalesce into a powerful force, one that would challenge British ambitions and etch its name into the annals of Igbo history. The struggle of the Igbo people against colonial domination became a symbol of their enduring spirit and their unwavering commitment to their land and heritage. Their story is a testament to the strength and resilience of a people under threat. The Ekumeku, meaning palm tree in the Igbo language, emerged as a symbol of defiance against British imperialism. They were not a standing army in the traditional sense, but rather a collective of warriors drawn from various Igbo communities, united by their shared determination to resist foreign domination. The Ekumeku warriors were farmers, traders, blacksmiths, and hunters who answered the call to defend their homeland. Their ranks swelled with each passing year as British aggression intensified. What they lacked in sophisticated weaponry, they made up for in sheer courage, tactical ingenuity, and an intimate knowledge of their terrain. The dense forests and intricate network of waterways of the Niger Delta became their allies, providing cover and strategic advantage against a technologically superior enemy. At the heart of the Ekumeku resistance was a deep-seated belief in their right to self-determination. They fought not just for their physical survival but for the preservation of their cultural heritage, their traditions, and their way of life. The Ekumeku movement transcended village and clan loyalties, uniting diverse Igbo communities under a common banner of resistance. Their struggle became a potent symbol of Igbo resilience, inspiring generations to come. The flames of resistance, long smoldering beneath the surface, erupted in 1883. This was a time of great upheaval and transformation as the Igbo communities found themselves at a crossroads. The British Empire, with its insatiable appetite for expansion, sought to tighten its grip on the region, unaware of the fierce spirit of defiance that lay within the hearts of the Igbo people. The British, emboldened by their perceived superiority, attempted to impose a new treaty on the Igbo communities, one that would solidify their control over trade and governance. This treaty was not just a document, it was a symbol of domination, a clear message that the British intended to reshape the social and economic landscape to their advantage. This act of blatant disregard for Igbo sovereignty proved to be the breaking point. The Igbo leaders, who had long been negotiating and trying to maintain their autonomy, saw this as an existential threat. The community's reaction was swift and fierce, as the leaders rallied their people to resist this encroachment on their freedom. The Ekumeku warriors, seeing this as an intolerable affront to their dignity and freedom, rose up in defiance. These warriors were not just fighters, they were the embodiment of their community's spirit and resilience. They prepared for battle with a sense of purpose, knowing that they were fighting for their land, their people, and their way of life. The early clashes of the Ekumeku War were marked by a stark contrast in tactics and weaponry. The British, with their advanced military technology, believed they could easily overpower the Ekumeku warriors. However, they underestimated the determination and ingenuity of their opponents. The British relied on their superior firepower, employing rifles and cannons against the Ekumeku's spears, machetes, and bows and arrows. The sound of gunfire and the roar of cannons filled the air, creating a terrifying backdrop for the battles that ensued. Yet the Ekumeku warriors were undeterred, using their traditional weapons with remarkable skill and precision. Yet the Ekumeku warriors, fighting on familiar ground, proved to be a formidable adversary. They knew the terrain intimately, using the dense forests and rugged landscapes to their advantage. Their knowledge of the land allowed them to move swiftly and strike unexpectedly, catching the British off guard time and again. They employed guerrilla warfare, launching surprise attacks from the dense undergrowth and disappearing back into the forest before the British could respond effectively. This hit-and-run strategy frustrated the British forces, who found it difficult to engage the Ekumeku warriors in a conventional battle. Despite their initial successes, the Ekumeku warriors soon realized that they could not defeat the British in open confrontation. The British military might was overwhelming, and the Ekumeku had to adapt quickly to survive. They began to retreat strategically, avoiding direct engagements and focusing on more sustainable forms of resistance. They adapted their tactics, focusing on disrupting British supply lines, ambushing patrols, and exploiting their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. By targeting the British supply chains, they aimed to weaken the enemy's ability to sustain prolonged campaigns, forcing them to reconsider their strategies. The Ekumeku warriors understood that their strength lay not in matching the British force for force, but in wearing them down through attrition, exploiting their vulnerabilities, and maintaining their own unwavering resolve. Their resilience and strategic acumen turned the tide of the conflict, proving that even a seemingly insurmountable foe could be challenged with the right combination of courage, strategy, and an unyielding spirit.